say, kids, what time is it?
The future is coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on.
And Weesby coming on to you from multiple locations today. Mrs. Future and I in sunny Boulder Creek, and we have Taylor Barcroft coming in from Santa Cruz. Live Oak Zone on the new Apple stuff that's just coming out this week. And Bobby Wilder is home in San Francisco. Bobby, how you doing?
Great. Yeah, it's a beautiful day.
Yeah, I heard you had Sasha over for a few days this week, and you guys nerded out till late several times.
Oh, yeah. It was 3 or 4 days straight of talking about supplements, how to live longer, and also nerding out on,
spatial web,
free energy principle. It was a deep rabbit hole.
I can imagine knowing
you seem
Sasha,
exhausted.
knowing Sasha, and knowing you. I'd say it's never ending. And it can go in many directions. I wouldn't call it just a rabbit hole. I call it some kind of root structure with many root tunnels.
Labyrinth.
A labyrinthian root structure.
A rabbit labyrinth.
It's the theory of everything.
Yeah. Well, that's good because we will probably bring him on soon and get a download from him on.
We wrap our heads around this.
Sasha is an interesting fellow because he's one of the experts in the Martian atmosphere. He knows more about the Martian atmosphere than just about anybody.
Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the solar system for him. Yeah. He's much more interested in the Earth now.
Yes.
And seeing what we know about our atmosphere and what's beneath it.
He's a big data guy.
Big data guy, yeah.
And recently he's been diving into AI and worked for some AI companies. So now, we're taking a look at Versus and that AI, but using a different approach.
Okay, so that Versus is connected to what was known as the spatial web, which is the next evolution of the internet, as foreseen by many. As to whether or not it becomes the predominant one, we hope so, because it's pretty exciting. It essentially is moving the net into another dimension, into more of a 4 or 5 dimensional experience, much like reality itself, more along those lines. So how can the net more replicate reality? Think networked holodecks, for one thing, if you're a Star Trek fan, and how that could become real. That's spatial web and what could be next for all of us. Meanwhile, we got today's news, just before the big elections in America here. We have got...
That's right, 1 week before all craziness breaks loose.
Any of you guys going to any election parties?
Oh, I'm going to a walnut party the day after the election.
A walnut party?
People are celebrating walnuts, or you're going to Walnut for a party?
Yeah. What's the thing about walnuts?
I'm going to the MSNBC party.
Oh, okay.
We won't have results till Friday.
Are you kidding me?
No, Pennsylvania's not allowed to count what do they call absentee or mail-in votes. They can't start counting them till Tuesday. And they've got millions. They've got a couple of million. So it's going to be Friday before the results are in for Pennsylvania.
So Election Day is going to be non-conclusive?
Yes, it'll be non-conclusive for sure. There's a video that shows how it's going to unfold. I think I sent you the link. The link to it. It's a YouTube video. Shows the CNN coverage, shows you what states they're going to call each day. And it's finally called on Friday for Kamala Harris.
Oh, they've already announced that?
Yeah, it's all it's a fantastic video. It shows CNN's reporting daily starting Tuesday night.
Well, let me guess. Is this on MSNBC?
No, it's done by an independent person shows the CNN reports unfolding when they call for Kamala or Trump each day, and then it winds up being Kamala wins on Friday.
Well, I'd be amazed if any legacy media had Trump winning.
Yeah, I can't imagine that he could win.
Yeah,
I mean, I think people are going to want to leave the country or something if he wins.
Well, it's funny you say that because my friends that are more into Trump think it's going to be a landslide in that direction.
It's going to be a landslide for Kamala. They think it's going to be a landslide for Trump?
Oh, some Trumpers do see that, yeah.
You're kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. I'm serious. The whole country is kind of getting more sure about their positions, for better or for worse. But I thought it was interesting that the results will be inconclusive for several days after the election. It's
inconclusive because Pennsylvania, by law, can't start counting until Tuesday.
An extra dose of complexity here.
Yeah, it's bad.
Hilarious.
But I think it's pretty clear that Kamala's going to win. Did you see that racist, homophobic, misogynistic thing that Trump did? At
The Trump Madison.
Garden
I've seen excerpts from it.
That's terrible. Me too. I would not watch the whole thing at all.
That is, yeah.
Some
were comparing it to Hitler in 1939.
Turned all the Puerto Ricans against him.
Yeah. That wasn't him. That was
pretty stupid.
Comedian, right? Did they ever get a story about why he did that, or maybe there was a context we were missing here?
His campaign claims it's not his position, but it's too late. It's too bad. It's all over.
You think it really ruined
lost them all, or those that hadn't voted yet? Anyway,
he was a plant by the Democratic Party.
I don't think so. That guy's not a comedian. If he is, he's some kind of Gen X comedian. I don't understand him at all.
Never heard of him before? Just
never heard of him
out of nowhere?
No. Supposedly he had sold out Madison Square Garden dates previously, but I've never heard of the guy, so I don't know what. I don't know what. He's not funny.
That's what I mean. He could be a psyop. He could be a psyop. What's his background?
Well, okay, whatever.
I don't know. I'm just thinking. These are the loose ends here. People were happy to say, well, he's the one that threw the election for Trump. In that case, we should look more closely as to who this guy is, right?
Let's not worry about it. Are we going to talk about Macs now or what?
Yeah. Let's get back into our legacy topics. Talking about Apple operating systems for the iPhone or for the Mac.
And the iPad, all of them.
Okay.
And the Apple
we're talking
TV,
about Apple
everything.
operating systems.
I'm just trying to start it off with the explanation that iOS 18.1 and iPad 18.1 were released on Monday to the general public. So if you haven't upgraded your product, your Apple thing that you have, it's available for you now.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of good features for security and such, but I'm more interested in the
beginning of the Apple Intelligence.
Yes, exactly, the Apple Intelligence. Like, what capacities will we suddenly have that we don't have already from other apps?
In Mail, you get the summary right away of each email.
My emails are usually just a paragraph long max anyway from people, so okay.
Right, you get a summary in like one sentence instead of a paragraph.
Oh, that'll save me time, yeah.
Saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, okay. Whoop-dee on that.
I want everybody to become an Apple developer and get 18.2 Beta 1.
Why? What are we going to get?
Unleashes the full Apple Intelligence suite, which you do not get with 18.1. If you want to wait for 18.2 to be released to the general public, you have to wait till mid-December, or maybe even late December. It's free to be a developer, so everybody can get a developer account for no charge, and then you can download Developer 18.2 Beta 1, which works just fine.
And you'll get the 18.2
of the
There's
Apple
a waiting
Playground.
list, right?
You have to get in the queue for the Apple Playground. You go in there, and it asks you if you want to be in the queue, and you just press a button, and you're in the queue, and it may take a week or two to get permission to use it. That's where you can create emojis of yourself, and you can type in text about what kind of emoji you want, and it'll produce it, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, okay. So it's taking our text to image into emojis.
And Mail is really different then, too. Because you get the primary, you get the shopping, you get different categories of mail are separated in 18.2.
Wow. Can you choose your own categories as well?
I believe so. I'm not sure. But at least 4 of them: shopping and receipts. And
organizing your email. Do you have a good system for that, son? No?
No.
No? So it kind of makes sense that Apple Intelligence would tackle email. Organization is, I find the best way with Google Gmail is that I just search
transactions.
I just search for what I need. Like I'm thinking of something I bought last year. I'll just mention, Lenovo 18-inch. And it'll find all the emails that mention that, and I'll pull it up.
They got their own intelligence going over there at Google, sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm used to.
Fine.
Categories, I don't know if I can.
Well, you're a first-class citizen, you're going to use the Apple Mail client, but that's just me. That's not you.
It is. It's not me. I have a problem with all these apps on my phone. I've got 100 apps on my phone, and the categories don't work. The categories don't work. That's the problem. How many people use categories on their phones?
Well, this is all
Anybody?
a new thing.
I'm just wondering what's new about it in terms of categories.
You get the primary list, you got the transactions list.
Well, this sounds a lot like how Google is set up. Google is set up so that you have different
updates
inboxes.
List and promotions list.
Mm-hmm.
It separates stuff into different piles. So you can look through a pile of promotions and a pile of transactions and a pile of the primary pile, and it knows what your favorite stuff is and all that. Okay,
Great.
well, anyway, let's not
Great.
spend too much
I
time
can't
on
say
this. I
that
just wanted to
organizing
make
my
sure that everybody
Gmail
knows
is
that
a big priority of mine. But what else is there? Is there,
Okay.
like, for
I
example,
wanted to make sure everybody knows they can get a free developer account if they want to start getting the 18.2 right away.
okay.
There's going to be a lot of different versions of 18.2 release. We're just in the first release.
So,
But
is
you
there
need to get in the queue for Playground, and that's going to take several weeks to get permission from Apple to play in the Playground.
Okay, so right now, the main thing is to get on the list to be in the Playground. That's the takeaway.
I call it the queue.
The queue. Okay, and how do you get into the queue? What's the?
You open Playground, the Playground app, and then Apple will say, "This is whoop-de-doo," and you press the button, okay, and then it says, "Now you'll have to wait to get permission to use this for a little while." And then you press the next button, done.
The name of this is
Playground.
Intelligence or just Playground?
Playground. Just search Playground at the bottom of your thing. There it says search, and you press the search button, and then you press Playground, and then it launches, and then you
register your account.
No, you don't register your account. You just press I'm in, and I want to be in the queue.
Okay.
Still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I said artist. I write Playground.
No, you're not looking in the App Store. It's not in the App Store. It's part of 18.1. You already put.
Okay. I thought it was in the App Store. Okay.
No, you have to download 18.2 to get it to appear in your phone. It won't appear until you get 18.2 beta 1.
Oh.
All right, let's get into the announcements. There's an M4 iMac with a bunch of new colors, and it's really powerful, and it's got 4 Thunderbolt ports on the back. If you don't get the base model still only got 2 back there, and it's really fast. Now, today was the announcement of the new Mac Mini. Now, the new Mac Mini is revolutionary. Instead of being 7 3/4 inch square, it's 5 inches square. Instead of being 1.4 inches tall, it's 2 inches tall. And it includes Thunderbolt 5 when you get the M4 Pro Mac Mini. And if you get the M4 Mac Mini, it's Thunderbolt 4. And there's 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports on the back and 2 USB-C ports on the front. We don't know the speeds exactly of that. It's probably 10. Hopefully it's 10 gigabits per second. And there's also a audio port, 3.5 millimeter audio jack on the front.
Yeah, that's right. You wrote up a price for what it would cost to buy one of these fully configured.
Yeah, I fully tricked out the M4 Pro Mac Mini. It costs you $214.50 a month for 12 months if you have an Apple Card. So, Bobby, you got to get that Apple Card now so you can get a deal. Get the deal.
Okay.
Or you got to buy it at Costco for less than $1,400. If you want the base model, which is going to be the binned version of M4 Pro, which is good enough, 12-core CPU.
That's 3 times the price I pay for my Mac Mini.
Can't hear you, Bobby.
He's saying that's a lot more expensive, 3 times what he paid for his Mac Mini a few years ago.
Well, no, he's got an M1 Mac Mini. That's a completely different class of machine. This is the M4 Pro Mac Mini. He was talking about wanting the M4 Pro.
Yeah, so
I'm just filling him out what it's going to cost.
You got to pay. This is not the low-end machine. We're talking of this M4.
Well, listen to this. The M4 Mac Mini that costs $599, the same entry price as before.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. $599.
16 gig of RAM.
Uh-huh.
And it's faster than the M2 Pro Mac Mini. Just the M4 is faster than the M2 Pro Mac Mini.
Well, okay.
So, not the M4 Pro.
Yeah, it's the high-end M2. Yeah, Pro Mac Mini. Got
it.
So
the high-end M2 Pro is slower than the low-end M4 Mac Mini.
As it should be. I like this. Okay, good. Let's say we have more power, more speed, smaller,
the M4
more
Pro
compact.
Mac Mini is faster than the M2 Max.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm not trying to rub it in. I'm just telling you.
I have a sound effect for this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, tomorrow, we're going to get the MacBook Pros, and most people care about that. Tomorrow, we're going to get the M4 Pro and the M4 Max MacBook Pros. Those are all coming out tomorrow. And the M4 Mac, the 14-inch M4 Mac, is going to have 3 USB-C ports that are all Thunderbolt instead of the 2 that are on the current M3 MacBook Pro. People have to look tomorrow on the web to find the Apple announcement for the MacBook Pros and all the reviews and so forth, all the copycats. So we can't fully explain it because it's not out yet. It's not fully announced. It's not announced yet. But tomorrow is the big day.
Is it going to be a live show on the air?
No, it's going to be the same thing as today. It's going to be a video press release.
Okay, very nice. Thank you, Taylor.
Well, are we done? I thought we weren't done. Bobby, what are you going to do about this M4 Pro Mac Mini? Are you going to forget about it?
No, but I'm going to wait. Well, the price comes down. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, you got to wait. I'm not saying today. I don't mean today. We configured that the fully loaded M4 Pro Mac Mini is about $2,700, by the way, for everybody that wants to know the limit. That's a 64 gig Mac. The fully loaded M4 Pro Mac Mini is head and shoulders above what any Mac Pro was 10 years ago. I can remember spending $6,000 for a wastebasket Mac Pro that is just a pipsqueak compared to this $2,700 fully loaded M4 Mac Mini.
Yeah.
And I could put the M4 Mac Mini in one of the hard drive slots on the old Mac Pro. It's so small. Imagine 5x5x2. Can anybody picture that? That's almost as small as the Apple TV. Does anybody care?
Nobody cares, Taylor. No, actually, it's great. It's really nice to have a serious hockey puck that can do all these things.
It has the two USB-C ports on the front. You're probably bummed out because you've got the M2 Mac Studio that you spent quite a bit on, over $2,000.
No, I'm very happy that it's evolving. I'm not upset at all.
Okay. Yeah. All right, good.
Yeah.
Well,
that's good.
I don't want you to feel bad.
No, it's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Fine.
Everything's just fine. Anyway, I was watching this morning when I watched the Apple release, and then I watched the Max Tech. Let's get a plug in there for Max Tech, MAXTECH, 2 words, channel on YouTube. That's where you get your daily Apple information, by the way, folks. Please subscribe. I'm not getting paid to say subscribe. I'm just telling you it's the best channel out there. They came up with 10 reasons you should upgrade. You guys at the end, should you upgrade? Heck yeah, you should upgrade. You better.
Upgrade is such a personal process for all of us, you know?
Yeah, well, we got to wait at least for Black Friday.
It depends on all the other things I'm waiting for. Like, am I going to get a car soon? An upgrade there?
A car.
People in reality have a lot of different needs and wants, right?
That's true.
Everyone's a little different on the spectrum here.
I have the base M2 Pro Mac Mini, and I'm not upgrading. I'm keeping the M2 Pro Mac Mini.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly
because I only need it for these Zoom
what I'm talking about then. You know what I'm talking about.
And watching television.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yeah. So are you going to upgrade any of your Mac gear with these M4 announcements? You know.
Who, me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, it's all about the software. It's all about 18.2.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, I thought the M4 was significant as well.
Well, it is. If you're still running on an Intel Mac Mini or a PC, or maybe if you got plenty of money and you just have an 8 gigabyte M1 Mac Mini like Bobby. Bobby doesn't want to talk. I don't know what Bobby's deal is, but he's just sitting there like a bump on a log.
I can't.
Come on, Bobby.
That's all right. Son is not totally into this conversation either. So what can I say?
Got nothing to say. Yeah. Hey, it's 2 minutes away from our sponsor break.
Yeah.
Everybody get a developer account and get to 18.2 because it's not. You're not going to really get a thrill out of 18.1. It's a little bump. 18.2 is the real upgrade. That's the real deal. That won't be released to the general public until mid-December.
18.2, and you can get
or late December. Yeah, that's why you want to go ahead and get a free developer account and start upgrading. Go get the first developer release, Beta 1, in the letter P, and the final release ends in A. So we got a lot of updates. And
I know. I can hardly wait to embrace my AI overlords.
Yeah, exactly. We want to be taken over. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, so hurry up. 18.
I can't wait to be taken over. I'm looking forward to being the victim of whoever's in control. I don't care. I want to be the subject.
At least you're honest. Yeah, okay.
And Kamala Harris is going to win, so don't anybody worry about that. She's going to win.
Time for a break. You ready?
Okay. Well, thank you, Taylor.
Thanks,
appreciate
Taylor.
the
You're
input.
welcome.
Located in Scotts Valley, Steel Bonnet Brewing Company is a family-owned brewery and taproom that focuses on creating delicious English, Scottish, and American ales. We are open every day and offer food trucks and live music on the weekends. With both indoor and outdoor seating, the brewery is the perfect spot to relax with your favorite drinks and loved ones. Bring your furry or human family members as we are dog and kid-friendly. Swing by the taproom at 20 Victor Square off Scotts Valley Drive or visit steelbond.net for more information.
The Hook is California's first ever cannabis outlet. 100% locally owned and operated, we're here to be your friendly neighborhood hookup. We believe that everyone should have access to fairly priced cannabis, so we work hard to get it to you for 30 to 50% less than the other guys. If you're 21 or older with a valid ID, visit us in Capitola or in Watsonville today.
Can you hear me?
We're here to be your friendly neighborhood hookup. Check out our website, hookoutlet.com, for deals and stay groovy.
Hey, Warren, you know it's been a while since I've been up to your showroom and garden center in Scotts Valley. Maybe the folks out there might want to know where you are.
Absolutely. To find Knox Roofing and the Knox Garden Box Company, just head up into beautiful Scotts Valley. We're at 46 El Pueblo Road, next door to Scarborough Lumber and the beautiful nursery. And when it comes to wood items, we have It's All About Wood gift shop. And of course, the Knox Garden Box. Lots to look at. We'd love to see you at Knox Roofing and the Knox Garden Box store. Okay, thanks, folks.
It's Locals Live Mashup. And we're ready to test your knowledge and hand you a $100 gift card to the Back Nine. Our next contest is the Beatles. You're going to need to name 10 songs.
Or as many as you can.
Whoever names the most wins a $100 gift card. Now, you already listened to Locals Live for sports, entertainment, and politics.
And don't forget History Corner.
So let's make it happen.
Impress your friends and win $100
on Saturday, November 2nd from 3 to 5, right here on Locals Live.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get any new Apple hardware either. I think the Apple Intelligence is what I'm looking forward to. So we'll see what is really useful there. It's just there's so many cool tools in other domains right now. Like, for example, 11 Labs, which specializes in audio, now allows you to describe a character. I think they used an example of a British pirate, a salty pirate from the 18th century. It'll generate that voice on the spot for you, and then you can write text for whatever you want it to say. They're going, oh, hey there, pull over if you want to live, or you want to end up in Davy Jones' locker, or keep going. You know, whatever you want, right? You just write it, and that voice will say it. So you don't even have to choose which voice from a collection of hundreds of voices now to make, but you can actually define one yourself that you can instantly create. So we're getting amazing tools like that. So if Apple Intelligence can do anything along those lines, I'm all ears.
Yeah, there's a lot of AI that can do that.
What's that?
That's Taylor trying to call me. I'm sorry.
He's trying to block you out.
I think the main thing is this. They're just trying to open up the neural processors that are on their latest Apple silicon. They have these products that are keeping your data private instead of going on to a cloud server, exposing what you really think and want and what questions you have. They're trying to keep it more private, that you can ask it questions, but your phone can actually come up with the answers without having to go out on the web. It can go out on the web, but it mixes up those questions, so you can't really tell who was asking ChatGPT, for instance, what the question was. So they kind of scrambled the question data going up to the servers. So it gives you a little bit of privacy. This is like in the old days. You used to have mainframes and you had to have terminals. We had personal computers, and now we have phones, and the computing is on the edge. And so right now, all the AI is done on mainframes and these NVIDIA GPU processors that cost millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, plus they use so much energy. And then why can't we just bring AI locally and use less energy and not throw up so much carbon to produce all this electrical energy to produce these server farms that are in the cloud, you know? We're at the stage at the very beginning where it's all done in the cloud, but eventually it's going to end up on your phone.
Yeah. Though, do you think the cloud will ever go away?
No, that's where you're going to store your backups of everything, probably. And that's where you can share your data, and hopefully it's private and nobody else can see your data that you're sharing. But the problem is, do you know how much energy that these NVIDIA...
They take a huge amount of power. That's why we were having an interesting conversation this week with Dr. Jonathan Trent and his idea of using a bioreactor to generate energy from the warm water caused by
to cool the data center.
Data centers, yeah. We need a huge amount of power. It seems to be going in that direction, and we will probably figure it out. The need for it will probably push the technology. We'll probably even figure out fusion in 5 years instead of 10 years all the time. Yeah, it's a driver to need the electricity. But my feeling is that we all have our own phones, and we also have the cloud. Now, I equate that to all of us having our own brains and all of us having access to the rest of the world, which goes through the phone.
These AIs, and you ask it a question and it's processing stuff. Yeah. We're talking about processing that happens in the cloud, and how much energy does that take, electrical energy? And then
probably a lot for some of the processes. Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking thousands of watts of energy to do these little iterations. But your brain can do these things, and it can run on less than 30 watts as opposed to thousands of watts to do the same process.
Yeah, I've heard as low as 10 watts. That's what the brain can do. Yeah, it's remarkable. Yeah.
Yes. So it's just a different way of using algorithms that can come up with the same answer. This Carl Friston, he came up with this new idea called the free energy principle. And it explains everything about how we get information from cells to humans, how we process information, and how we learn from our environment. And it's a completely way than how these computers are taking massive amounts of data, everything, and then funneling it down, where there's a different approach from where you just ask yourself how you interact with the world, and you ask little pieces of information, but you can learn from it without having to take large amounts of data and funneling it down to what you want. It's a different way of computing. And it uses a lot less energy that way.
And we might have to go that route in order to deal with the demand.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, we're hurtling towards this at an unheralded rate of speed, so we'll see what happens.
Speaking of moving fast.
Moving fast. What I've been noticing is that lately there have been more stories about mysterious objects hurtling through our solar system at 1 million miles an hour. We're starting to notice these interstellar objects more and more. So,
well, we have a lot more eyes on space than we ever did before.
Yeah, they're coming more and more frequent. And I think what we'll probably find is that there are quite a few interstellar objects passing through all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
right. Some of these are coming from outside the Oort cloud, so they're coming from other systems.
Interstellar objects, mysterious objects that are hurtling through our solar system at 100 miles an hour.
You said 100 miles an hour.
No,
that's not very fast.
Excuse me.
That doesn't qualify as hurtling.
1 million.
1 million.
1 million
That's practically
miles per hour.
standing still. Yeah, that's more like it.
Okay. Not a planet. They're not a star. What is this going through us? That caught my attention. It was like somehow the AIs pushed it to me for this week, even though it was something that our scientists spotted last August.
Well, we did have a group of people at your birthday party looking up in the sky for the comet. And while we were looking up, there happened to be a sighting of the most recent release of the Starlinks that were all still in a very impressive line. So we saw 30 lined up satellites all get lit.
Wasn't that beautiful?
At
That
the
was
same
so
time.
incredible.
It was amazing. Everybody
deploy.
was amazed. And we were able to see the comet, the Atlas comet that has been visible. And now it's been, it was last weekend. So it's been getting dimmer and dimmer.
Here's a weird one. CY's J1249 plus 3621. This is weird because it's going to pass through our solar system and it's 30,000 times more massive than the Earth.
It's passing through our solar system?
It will be. Not anytime soon. It's 400 light years out.
Oh. We can see it, but we don't have to build a bunker or anything.
We've created trajectory. Yeah, so nothing to worry about, but it's somewhere in a size between a star and a planet. It's 8% of the sun's mass, rapidly moving star. What are those things? We don't know, but it's heading this way. And we'll probably be long gone or out of here by the time it reaches us in 400 light years.
Well, I guess so. If we don't crack the immortality codes before then.
Yeah.
If it was traveling at light speed, then it would only take 400 years.
Yeah, but it's not even traveling at light speed. That's right.
Yeah.
Like a fraction of that. But it's faster than anything we've ever done. I think that they estimated that it's 1 million miles an hour is about 2.6 times faster than our fastest space probe. The Parker Solar Probe reached pretty high speed, only about 2.6 times less than that, when it looped around the sun back in June of 24. This one was discovered by citizen scientists.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it was a group of citizen scientists that scoured through online images of NASA's data.
Oh, I see. So it is using NASA data.
Yeah. Infrared Explorer, the WISE system. 3 people noticed a faint, mysterious object that was moving across the pictures. And they got all excited when they saw that.
Did any of them get to name it? No, nobody would name it that silly name.
Yeah.
That number.
No, yeah. I want it 3621 minus 36, sub 3 designation, because no one knows what it is, so it deserves its own designation.
Those headlines grab you. Mysterious
They
objects
do,
hurtling through space. You're like, oh,
mysterious.
I want to know.
Right. So
What else caught your attention, my dear?
I do have some moments from The Time Tunnel. You remember that series, The Time Tunnel?
You mean the TV show?
Yeah, the TV show.
I love that show.
1966. Thank you, Greg, for that link. I followed up on that. I remember that show. It had a distinctive entree. I think it was John Williams was the composer for the song.
Really?
Yeah. I guess he worked for Irwin Allen for a while. Probably did Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and who knows what else.
I really loved the special effects for that show when they would stand in front of that cool tunnel and then start flipping around like they were falling through a hole.
Like the Stargate. I think the Stargate series used
Yeah, it took a cue from there for sure.
I have a little piece from the opening. See if this brings back any memories.
2 American scientists are lost in the swirling maze of past and future ages during the first experiments on America's greatest and most secret project, the Time Tunnel.
You sound familiar?
Sure.
Time Tunnel.
You remember that too?
Watch it anytime.
It's on.
Just search Roku.
It's on Roku. Okay, good. Well, that's good to know. A lot of childhood memories are coming back now. I saw Bewitched, the original, the other day, and stuff like that. So this is another fun one.
Do you recognize the voice in the beginning of this Time Tunnel?
America's greatest and most secret project.
It's the same voice that was on Lost in Space.
It's a small sci-fi crew back then in the 60s. Yeah, hilarious. Here's a fun part of it, and thanks, Greg, for this link, is that someone ran through the time tunnel, the whole concept, to our favorite AI talk show hosts, and they came up with a little dialogue about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We fed the ancient retro future to the future retro aliens.
Yeah, to see what they have to say about it. And they created like a nice little repartee, which I'll share a few minutes with you now.
Okay, Larry and Mary.
Here we go.
Ever hopped in the shower and thought,
man, I wish I had a time tunnel to go back and relive that moment.
Well,
today's deep dive is for you.
We're rewinding back to 1966.
To a show that let viewers do just that.
Irwin Allen's The Time Tunnel.
Irwin Allen.
The mastermind behind Lost in Space and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Really knew how to capture that sci-fi magic.
He did.
And with The Time Tunnel, he tapped into something universally fascinating.
Time travel. But what's interesting here is that this show wasn't a quick flop, as many people believe.
That's a common misconception.
It actually did quite well in its time slot.
Okay, so set the scene for us.
It's 1966. Star Trek is about to explode onto the scene, but sci-fi is already a thing, right?
Absolutely.
Sci-fi was captivating audiences.
And not just with escapist adventures.
There was a real hunger for knowledge.
For using these futuristic concepts to explore history and science.
Which is where the time tunnel comes in.
2 scientists
trapped traveling through time.
Landing smack dab in the middle of major historical events.
Titanic. Pearl Harbor.
Even Custer's last stand.
Talk about a history lesson.
What set the time tunnel apart was its dedication to historical accuracy.
Of course, there was some dramatic license.
But the creators went to great lengths to ground the show in real events and research.
For example, in the episode End of the World.
They meticulously recreated the panic surrounding the 1910 approach of Halley's Comet.
Even using actual newspaper headlines from the time.
This commitment to historical detail was pretty rare for a sci-fi show in the 60s.
It's like they were giving viewers a front row seat to history.
While keeping them on the edge of their seats with the adventure.
And we can't forget about that iconic control room.
While our time-tossed scientists were dodging Roman soldiers or outrunning a volcanic eruption.
Always one step ahead of disaster.
Those two. There was this whole other layer of drama unfolding back at headquarters.
The frantic team.
Led by the ever-so-serious General Kirk.
Desperately trying to bring them home.
It added this constant tension.
This ticking clock that went beyond the immediate danger our heroes faced in the past.
It's a storytelling technique that really resonates even today.
That makes you wonder
if they were always trying to get back to the present.
There you go.
Well, we are definitely time traveling today.
Yeah, it brings back old memories.
See, every time I listen to Larry and Mary, I get an uncanny valley effect.
Really?
Yeah, where I just learn a little bit about the motifs that they're using and about the behavioral imitations that they're trying to pepper it with. Because I notice things like the fact that one of the AI starts the sentence and then the other AI finishes it, as if somehow they're reading each other's minds. But people don't talk like that.
People actually don't do that.
Right.
Do they?
No. Whoever has the thought is going to finish the question.
Right.
And they're just busy trading it back and forth. And it seems like they sprinkle in.
It's the Terminator changing voices in the middle.
Yeah. And the intonation, there was a few inappropriate intonations where they were laughing for no reason or whether they were asking a question for no reason.
It's a little outside of the range of normal human behavior.
Yeah. But when you give them something like that has very little information for them probably to reference, right? They can't really do a deep dive into something that just is this little incidental trivia from history.
A sci-fi.
And so their deep dive comes up kind of shallow.
Yeah, you're right. It reminds me of Valley Speak. When you go to LA, people banter back and forth like this. I've met people like that.
This is more like LA consciousness? The Larry and Mary banter?
Yes.
Huh.
I've experienced that before, and it's true. It's coming out. Is this Notebook LLM that's doing this?
Yeah. It's Larry and Mary.
Yeah,
Notebook
we
LLM.
tried them on a deep dive on a science topic also.
Yeah,
they
like
seem to
them
do
better
with that. It's more boring for a mainstream audience, but it's
well, and the thing is that
accurate.
The deep dive that they do on, say, eukaryotes, they don't know which things are familiar and which things are obscure. Yeah. And so they brush over things that, of course, everyone knows, exactly what a eukaryote is. And
naturally.
They don't bother defining their terms.
Is that opposed to a eukaryote? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Greg. He says the voice of the narrator of the time tunnel was Richard Tufeld.
Oh, yeah, he did the whole Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, and yeah, it's the same voice that you hear.
Land of the Giants? That was their one. Also, I do believe.
Well, actually, Lost in Space, for sure. It's that same voice.
Look at the MeTV schedule.
You can watch these old shows, yeah.
Land of the Giants, Time Tunnel, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, all that stuff.
Fantastic. Well, great. Okay. Well, is that a premium service, or do I have to pay for that?
Broadcast channel.
A broadcast? You mean television? Over the air?
Yes, over the air.
Who does that?
You don't watch MTV over the air?
No. No, I don't watch anything over the air. Are you kidding me? Maybe in the car and the radio, but certainly not on television.
I watch.
I got a Roku box.
All the time. I watch TV. Prime time. I spend all my time with PBS. Don't know what you're missing.
Oh.
MeTV. I think there's a MeTV.com. I think is their website.
We were at a party this weekend where we created a couple more connections with Jonathan Trent and his plans for generating energy from server farms. It could be that we might have a bioreactor energy generation system here in the Santa Cruz County.
We are looking to help him figure that out.
Yeah.
He has some great ideas, and he's just looking for a home for them.
Yes, and it's some extremophile scientists' ideas on how to use microorganisms for generating energy and creating clean fuels and drinkable water from waste.
Right.
Bioorganic waste.
Right.
Stuff you throw away from
We did a whole
cooking
show
in the
on
kitchen.
that a month ago.
Cooking in the kitchen, yeah. So I'm excited about that locally. There was a very interesting story about how the James Webb had discovered a lonely supermassive black hole powered quasar.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You know, it sounds like the definition of a quasar is that it's like a star in the middle of a galaxy, and it's a galaxy level star. And it's just a super bright, super massive black hole that is sending out vast gamma rays in two directions. It's quite a mystery what causes them to come into being and how something that big and that massive can even exist, much less be as bright as it is, right? These quasars. They were originally found as radio waves. They were big, bright sources of radio waves, which is where the name came from. I guess the R part of it was because it was a radio wave.
I think the mystery for me right now is that they have peered back 13 billion years in time, kind of like a time tunnel, to discover this surprisingly lonely supermassive black hole powered quasar. So a black hole, a supermassive black hole, which is very big, is powering a quasar. Now, what is the quasar doing that needs this amount of power, right? I think your questions on its origin and what it's even doing there, it boggles the imagination, especially since it would appear that these large supermassive black hole powered quasars were found in the early universe, just a few 100 million years after the Big Bang. So it destroys or muddies the waters, as they say, when it comes to the puzzle of how some black holes grew to masses equivalent to millions or billions of suns at
yeah,
such
well, I
a
guess
young
the
age.
big mystery is that there's nothing for this quasar to eat. It's in a
it's so young. In the universe, there's nothing around.
How'd it get so big?
Yeah. There's a team of scientists that are studying this, and they're looking at some of the earliest known quasars, 5 of them that we know in the cosmos that are between 600 and 700 million years old. Around the quasars, they have noticed this energy field, which they call the quasar field, and that around each of them, it's a very unique field, that they're not the same. They seem to have a lot of individuation to them. I always thought everything was absorbed by the black holes. I didn't realize anything could feed off of them. Does that make the quasars the top of the food chain in the larger movie that we're all in here?
When I was taking astronomy, these were always enigmas. They put out as much energy as all the stars of a whole galaxy at one time.
Unbelievable.
But it's very unusual.
Wow.
Okay, and we're back. We've got Mrs. Future with us, a.k.a. Sunny, and Bobby Wilder in San Francisco.
I'm here, yes.
You were just saying something about the quasars just before we got cut up. Did you have a final thought on those?
Yeah, I think since they're 13 billion light years away, far away, and they produce so much energy, obviously in the very beginning of the universe, these were these supermassive black holes. And when they spin, and if you are at the poles and the energy that's coming out of those poles is pointed at us here on Earth, then we're getting this huge blast of whole galaxies spinning into a gigantic black hole. And we're getting these polar spurts that are the size of 140 galaxies length of our galaxy. So we're getting this fire hose pointed at us. That's what we're seeing. And so we couldn't figure out what the heck these things were in the beginning. But it's interesting to know what they are now today.
Yeah, fascinating. I imagine you could spend a lot of time studying these things and still not know much about them.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. What does it mean when it says quasars need full larders? Full larders.
Well, that's because the idea is that black holes get bigger by ingesting the objects that fall into their gravity well. That's what they're calling their larders, like where their food is stored. Right? It's a metaphor.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess it's all metaphors at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they say, contrary to popular belief, or previous belief, I guess you might say, on average, these quasars are not necessarily in those highest density regions of the early universe. Some of them seem to be sitting in the middle of nowhere. That's according to Anna Christina Eilers, assistant professor of physics at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. She says it's difficult to explain how these quasars could have grown so big if they appear to have nothing to feed from. Where's the food? Where's the food coming from?
The mystery is apparent to the people who study quasars, but not to us.
Why, it's supermassive black holes.
These quasars are out there in infinite time. So the fact that we're noticing something about them like, hey, that giant quasar doesn't seem to have enough to eat. How could it be so big? You know, that's very random space news, honey.
It could be like the time tunnel where there was a supermassive black hole and then it decides to go through a wormhole and come out and spurt out in another empty area of space, coming out that way. Or else this simulation, and this is how they seed energy from another dimension into our simulation of the universe here. And these are just little light beams that on another level of immense power just shooting energy into our universe and keeping us going.
It might be the energy system for the giant simulation of the universe that we are all in.
It could be, yeah. Maybe they're just seeding pieces of energy to keep the universe running in a simulation.
Keep our little experience going here.
Yeah.
Well,
You look like you're getting hit by a quasar right now. You're disappearing into light, Al.
Yeah, we have beams of light coming through the windows here. It's a blue sky today. The sky is beautiful here, but that means lots of sun. I should get my...
Your head is exploding.
Yeah, but it's perfect for those kaleidoscopes I got for my birthday.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go get one.
Well, you get two of them. I find if you get two kaleidoscopes and put them one on each eye and get them going, it'll really get interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah, try it.
Because I think you get these alternating, this like binaural beats or something, and oscillation between the left and right hemispheres. So you get light happening in different, it's like those sound light machines where you alternate.
She's getting the kaleidoscopes as we talk here, so we can actually really beautiful kaleidoscopes. So yes, and also for multiple dimensional effect, make sure that you have a direct sunlight used with the kaleidoscopes because they'll create a sparkling layer that's really special.
Really? How do you get a kaleidoscope to spin or move? Is it
a thumb and forefinger effect?
Really?
With one and the other, you rotate it.
Ah,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I used to have a kaleidoscope as a kid. It was nothing like the ones we have today, of course.
Yeah,
but it was
real objects of art.
Yeah, they're real objects of art today, and the particles fall in slow motion because they're in a liquid. They're suspended in a liquid medium.
Oh, they're so beautiful. It looks like something out of the...
Give us a full report, Al.
Right now, I want to look at the sun through the...
Okay, Captain Lightbeam, what do you see?
I see I've got some glasses on I got to take off.
We're trying to go more visual in this podcast.
Yeah. It's
not just for audio anymore.
Lose the audience, the audio side, but the visuals.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to take more attention than I can give it right now. But I'd say the little one is really, really looking special. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Reflections?
7.
The
7. The geometries are 7 right now.
Al, this is great visuals I'm seeing.
I'm telling you, we should be doing video. Yeah. If you could see what I see, you'd be saying what I'm saying.
I want that experience. Wow.
Well.
All right. Back to the
not that expensive.
Back to the stuff we practiced.
Okay. Okay. Back to Radioland.
Yeah.
I can't see anything anyway. When you're using a kaleidoscope, it's so bright with the sun behind it that staring at screens after that is a challenge.
Yeah, this is kind of new. I don't remember until just the last 2 or 3 shows that the sun is coming in really brightly right in the middle of the show.
Well, take it as a useful thing because my feeling is that the sunlight itself is more than just light. It's coded information. And it's got a message for us.
Food for your light body.
Yeah, food for what we talk about next or whatever is going on in our lives. I think the sun has got a direct connection with all life forms on this planet. And it's more than just heat. I feel like there's information being exchanged. I can't prove it just yet, but I think we'll find evidence to that if we know where to look.
So you feel like the sun is beaming a message right at you?
I think that's a
special.
feedback loop. I think it's some kind of bio-solar feedback loop between us and not just us. You know, we tend to put our species above the others, but I think all the planet that thrives, that life that thrives from solar radiation, is not just getting radiation, but getting information. And in different ways. Like we have multiple sensors that can pick up the sun, from the light and audio to the warmth. And all of it is not just warmth. It's not just heat. That's what I'm saying. But where to look? Well, I leave that up to you.
Yeah, all of your cells in your body have in their mitochondria. And these mitochondria were bacterium that are 4 billion years old. And then they found their ways into our cells. And there's thousands of each of these mitochondria in each one of your cells, especially your neurons. And they have a little thing on them called cytochrome C, which is activated by infrared. So when the sun is shining on your head, Al, you are lighting up parts of your brain, and it'll generate ideas just on different parts of the brain that it's lighting up.
Wow, I can experiment with that.
Yeah, you can experiment with that, really. When I was a kid, like 4 years old, when I woke up, I realized, if I just lie in the sun on this patio and turn my head to the back of the sun, so it's hitting the back of my head, it would wake me up. And so I do the same thing every morning with my infrared panel that I have. It was only $30, and you just put it behind the nape of your neck. It does. It wakes me up, and it gives me ideas outside of what I was dreaming of. Ideas. Try that.
Yeah, I'll experiment with that. That's interesting.
We do need light. So
yes, fusion energy coming directly at us from the sky. One of the future visions that's been in the news lately has been Saudi Arabia's Line megacity. You heard about that?
I have heard of it. This is such an odd idea. Like, why does this seem like a good idea to anyone?
To make a 100-mile long city?
In a tube.
Well, I guess it is kind of tube-ish.
Yeah.
But it's very variable. You know, it's got many different types of environments along the length of it.
I guess the goal is apparently that Saudi Arabia is cognizant of the fact that in the future we may not have oil in the way that we do now. So they don't want to be dependent on having an oil-based economy. And so they're currently trying to cultivate a tourism-focused economy. And so they're building some very tourist-worthy architectures. And the Line is one of the more anomalous ones. It's called the Line because it's going to be a perfectly straight line, and eventually the plan is for it to be 170 kilometers or 105 miles, but they're only going to have 2.4 kilometers or 1.5 miles finished by 2030.
It's a long-term project. Right? Very long.
Long road ahead.
Yes. But in order to have a long vision like that, it has to be really compelling, enough to get you excited, get your juices flowing to want to do it, you know? So what do they have along those lines? I bet you there's no Burning Man in that 100-mile stretch. And that's one of the things that concern me, is that they have a number of ideas of what the future should look like.
Yeah, they're calling it the air-conditioned city.
Yeah. First of all, it's a subset of what humanity likes, for starters, and it's going to be even a further subset because it's going to be what the Arabian owners of the city like. A big reflection of that as well. And along those lines,
it's going to have a mirror on the outside. That's one thing.
Well, mirrors is not going to turn on people to a future city. But what does is, at least for this particular cruise, they have a pair of spectacular skyscrapers that rise like a mirage in the Saudi desert. It's called Epicon. 2 skyscrapers, the shorter which will rise to about 225 meters. It's about 740 feet. While the taller will be up to 900 feet or 275 meters. Epicon, it'll be part of this. It's kind of interesting because from our point of view, we're going away from skyscrapers. There's less need for skyscrapers as people work more from their home
It
environments.
sounds like they're going to need escalators more than skyscrapers.
Well, they might as well go to a low Earth orbit then and have a space elevator that connects them. That would be pretty cool.
Right.
So the visions of the future that they portray are, as I said, a subset. I'd like to see it. I'd like to maybe even help create something there that would be part of the future, as I see it more as a collection of ideas than it is an actual place yet. A place where if you have any great ideas for the future, there's a chance that they could be possibly tested there. It used to be when we were kids, we had World's Fairs to play with, to go to. And in Montreal, we had Terre des Hommes, which was the continuation of Man and His World from 1967. And every year it would open and it would be like a magical place out of space and time that was like a city of the future, unlike any place here. Very optimistic kind of environment. So to have that as a kid to experience was great. I imagine in Las Vegas for yourself, son, that the town itself is one giant experiment of the future.
Big giant theme park.
Yeah, theme park, right?
Sure.
Or growing up near Disneyland must have been something. I think it's an interesting experiment, and that maybe a lot of these visions that they're talking about won't come true, but it's there, and at least they're trying to do something that's futuristic and looking at what's next. Even though it's going to take 20% of the world's steel.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the issues.
Right. Well, they're going to have to stay relevant because eventually they're going to be asking investors to put more money into it.
Yeah.
Here's a sentence from your article about the Chief Investment Officer, Maynard Al-Monif. And he said that the project is currently using 1/5 of all the steel currently produced in the world, an incredible statistic. But Neoms, the company that's making it, their creators expect the project to continue to be the world's largest customer of building materials for decades. A lofty goal to be the world's biggest customer for building materials.
I know, right?
To put a big steel thing in the middle of the desert in Saudi Arabia.
And to make this all happen, they have commissioned a new $700 million concrete multi-plant factory, producing 20,000 cubic meters or 700,000 cubic feet of concrete per day for the line. I walked the line. 100,000 workers. Oh, my God. Well, as long as the oil holds up, I guess they'll be okay.
Right. There's a gallery that has some of the visualizations for this project, what they have in mind. It kind of looks like a big oil pipeline going across a giant peninsula.
So apropos. Where do you live? I live in the line. The pipeline.
Right.
We've seen some really cool future cities in America, I might add. I've enjoyed Earthships in New Mexico.
Those are the best.
That's a cute little community there. And Arcosante in Arizona, very special place, where we've had visionary gatherings of people to talk about what's next.
Well, both of those creations came from another era where the cutting-edge architects of the world really wanted to have Earth architecture. They wanted things to be powered by the sun or powered by the natural thermal heat exchange with the constant temperature that if you just go down 10, 20 feet, you hit a relatively isothermic zone, and then you can use that to design passive engineering where the cold will just sink and the hot will raise up, and you can create different kinds of flows with that will air condition the building and things like that.
The geothermal is very interesting. If you live out in the desert, what you do is you dig these trenches and you lay down pipes in the trench, and you can actually, below the desert, everything is about, if you go down 6 feet, the temperature lowers to around 58 to 60 degrees. So you can just funnel air through these long trenches and tunnels, these pipes, and you can cool down your house naturally without using electricity. You just need a fan to move the air.
Yeah, it's a different era. It was a different era of architecture, of really just trying to make things that imitated nature. It's kind of the opposite of this particular Saudi Arabian line construction.
They can take advantage of a lot of principles.
As non-natural as possible.
Like Bobby was saying, they could take advantage of being slightly underground, can really reduce the amount of air conditioning you need rather dramatically. right? Underground has its advantages. And I would think of it as more than just a line. I would think of it as a subterranean line that goes deeply into the earth, because that's what they've got. The surface of the planet is not so great.
A subway tunnel condo project. Like, get your condo in the subway tunnel.
And a place like that could be a pioneering in subway tunnel and creating transportation, be an ideal place for the Hyperloop systems that are being proposed, tubular travel. And tubes are a big part of the world. It's a big part of our anatomy even. Tubes are important. So evolving a city into a tube, it's almost like a microbiome, you know. I don't think they'd be so much in air transportation, but I could be wrong. It could be that the drones are so good at flying in tight spaces that they could easily fly from one end to the other in the tube.
Well, I think maybe the idea is that this is a research project for things you might want to build on other planets or in space.
Right. It just reminds me of a Martian or a lunar environment.
Yeah.
Living in a tube, yeah.
Right.
So tube tech of the future. Here we come. Neom.
All right, so we'll be right back.
Okay.
Hang tight.
When you need help managing the legal affairs of your family, call on the Angel.
Hello, I am attorney Angel Hess, and I am ready to help. Whether you need a prenuptial agreement or divorce settlement, need child or spousal support, or are facing custody issues or visitation rights, I will help you. I have more than 7 years' experience as a family law attorney.
When you need help, call on the Angel. Attorney Angel L. Hess at santacruzlegal.net.
Bent Dime Limoncello is a unique wine-based limoncello that blends quality and craftsmanship. Made in Santa Cruz with a premium California wine and brandy, it combines bright citrus notes with a delicate Chardonnay aroma and the richness of brandy. Perfect in a limoncello spritz or with ginger beer. Ask for it in your favorite restaurant. Find out more at bentdimelimoncello.com.
Deer fins, wood fins, livestock, chain link, vinyl, iron fins, Cypress Coast Fence, Cypress Coast Fence.
I'm Kevin Donovan, the owner of Cypress Coast Fence, Monterey Bay Area's premier fence company.
And I'm Katie Donovan, Kevin's sister. I'm one of the project coordinators. I'll help you choose the best fence for your needs, and I'll be with you for every step of the project.
We work with local suppliers and employ quality craftsmen to build the right fence to secure, protect, or privatize your property. We've been in business for 15 years and have been voted best fence company for 7 years running.
Give us a call for your no-obligation consultation at 831-783-1500 or at cypresscoastfence.com.
We don't just build fences, we make good neighbors.
Deer fence, wood fence, livestock, chain link, vinyl, iron fence, Cypress Coast Fence, Cypress Coast Fence.
The votes are in. Chef Ben here from Back 9 Grill and Bar at the Easy Off Past Tempo exit. We are so proud of our food and our service and your votes. Back 9 has been voted Santa Cruz County's best burger and best happy hour in the good times. You've heard me talking about our house ground burgers. It's time for you to come and try one so you can taste the juicy difference. And what makes our happy hour the best? You have to come and experience it yourself. See you at the 9.
Okay, we are back, and we have our interview queued up with Gissell Bisson, a longtime friend and someone who we share much history with and is a recovering vegan. She wants to spend a few minutes talking to you about what that means. This is a part of an interview. You can hear the whole thing. We'll have it linked to our page.
We're just going to give you a little teaser here.
Yeah, a little teaser here, like a promo. Here we go.
Yeah, I went from being a vegan for 18 years and a vegetarian for decades before that to starting gradually to eat meat again. And then in 2023, the community, on January 1, 2023, I took a dare and went full carnivore at the request of my community. They said, try it. You really need to try this. And it was so morally and it was repulsive, just really the thought of eating nothing but meat. But I took it as a dare. I announced it on Twitter, and I reached hundreds of thousands of people
Wow.
Within 24 hours, I got inundated with requests to do podcasts from all over the world. I was doing major podcasts, in Australia, and I was interviewed for books, and there was a chapter in a book, and academics from other countries were contacting me and interviewing me for studies and students, and it was overwhelming.
It's interesting.
I became an instant celebrity. Now I have about 20,000 followers just on X.
So how would people
other
find
platforms.
you if they wanted to know more?
Recovering Vegan, which is vegan recovering.
Recovering Vegan on Instagram?
Instagram and on Twitter.
On Twitter.
Yeah, I'm Recovering Vegan. It's easy to find me. And I'm now known as one of the top 20 influencers in the world in the space of keto and carnivore health and nutrition. I mean, these people, my fans, think of me as this beautiful icon of health, which is weird because around my own friends, I'm not considered that, and I'm somewhat of a freak.
Well, you're one of the most healthiest part of the country, So.
I've always thought of you as a highly health conscious, aware practitioner of long life habits.
But I thought veganism was that, and it turned out to be the opposite. So,
well, let's just say we are omnivores, and veganism has its place in our health practices. Because sometimes you need to detox, and sometimes you need to simplify.
It's a temporary practice. It's a spiritual practice. It's a spiritual choice. But if you make that choice, and part of my platform is really warning parents not to allow their children to be vegan.
It's a malnutrition diet.
It's voluntary malnutrition. It's like you live in a first world country. You have access to everything in the grocery store, and you're voluntarily giving yourself malnutrition-related diseases. That's not smart.
Yeah, that's not your intention, though. I mean, I think people are trying to just figure out what's more healthy for themselves.
Hey, skinny is win.
It's evolving, right? Popularity of all these Ozempic-type drugs now.
People want to be thin.
Yeah, it's testimony to that.
No, people want to eat whatever they want to eat and be thin.
That's right.
That's what Ozempic is about. Continue eating junk food and lose weight. I mean, that's
the thing is that you lose your appetite. It's an appetite suppressant.
A friend of mine who went on Ozempic said it was coming out of both ends, and she had to go off the Ozempic.
Some people don't.
The Ozempic bulimics, man.
That's the
what are they going to do?
Why it works, it shuts down your digestive system. Yeah. So instead of doing Ozempic, you could go on a carnivore diet and eat a steak and some eggs every day, and you wouldn't need to eat much more, and you would stay sated.
No plants. I mean, salad. Or...
Yeah. Are you still on your meat-only diet?
Ideally, it's very difficult to do that and still be social. It's hard to eat in a restaurant. It's hard to go to a party, but I do.
That's
it
what
privately.
vegans used to say about being a vegan.
That's right. It used to be that way for vegan until it became mainstream.
Potatoes? You do the potatoes?
Occasionally. Peeled, organic, peeled, no eyes, not green, and deeply peeled, and then boiled or cooked in tallow, which is beef fat. So there's a whole movement that's starting where there's somebody you can follow called the Seed Oil Disrespecter on X, and there's an app now that you can use to check out and find restaurants that don't use seed oils.
Yeah. I know. I have a
seed
sister that
oils
doesn't do
are a new
oil.
Nutrition. This is one of the latest things where people are becoming aware now of something we should not eat, that we should avoid, and that would be any oil that comes from a seed. That's canola, soy, cottonseed, any seed oil, safflower, sunflower.
Peanut.
These have been. Oh,
That's
God,
not a
no.
seed.
That's even worse. Yeah. So you want to stay away from oils that are from seeds. And the reason is that not only the extraction process is highly toxic, and those oils like canola was originally developed as an engine lubricant.
Not a human engine.
It belongs in your lawnmower or your crankcase, not in your body. And there's a journalist in Palo Alto in Silicon Valley, Nina Teicholz. She did a TED Talk about seed oils, and she wrote a book called The Big Fat Lie. And her work as a journalist has been uncovering this. It's a conspiracy that's been going on since the 70s, where the food industry has marketed these toxic seed oils as heart healthy and better for you, and actually they're the diametrical opposite of what we've been told they are. And what we're replacing, which is butter, animal fats, saturated fats, and tallow, is actually healthier for us.
Oh, okay. Well,
you can follow
Nina.
Deep
topic.
Another day. Yeah. That's another topic. But anyway,
so
that's part of what we talk about.
Deep dive there just now, but that's
as a recovering vegan. It's a bigger conversation about plants not being actually that good for us.
And plants.
Okay.
Everything is wrong. And once again,
I'm so glad we were able to deep dive a little bit into our shared history and all of the art, tech, cultural evolution that we have witnessed firsthand.
In this short amount of time, you can see why we love her so.
Yes, indeed. She's got the real facts. She's been there taking notes. Thanks, JJ.
Thank you for having me as a guest again.
Yeah,
it's always a pleasure being here and getting the stimulation of the future.
In the now. Okay, there you go. That's Giselle. Yeah.
Very articulate woman.
I had no idea she was so not into seed fats.
Well, apparently that's the new way to be cautious in your diet. With the craze for keto, people were eating protein and oil, but then seed oils, they can get rancid because they're
inflammatory.
Inflammatory, yes. The way that they're harvested is to crush all those seeds, and then that's not very good for the life of the oil.
There's a new hamburger place here in San Francisco. It's called Caliber, and they have grass-fed beef, and they have their French fries are actually cooked in tallow. Lard.
I've actually seen people selling jars of tallow now at the drugstores, right? It's beef tallow. Let's get back to beef lard, right?
I just remember I was a cook at Arctic Circle, and it was like a hamburger place. And in the morning, you'd have this huge box. It weighed about 10 pounds. It was lard. It was white, and it was a big box, and we put it in the fryers, and it would just melt in the fryers, and then you'd run that all day. Yeah, we made the best French fries back then.
Nice. Sounds good.
It does remind me, when I taste a really good French fry, usually sweet potato fry, I really wish we could do that at home, that somehow there would be a really good French fry maker for the home that would be healthy for you.
Well, we have one of those at the beach. Those air fryers are
air
really
fryers?
good.
Yeah, you can make French fries from air fryers?
Yeah, really good ones.
Yeah, but they don't, you can sprinkle some oil, or what's best is probably ghee. So it turns out that C15 is actually in grass-fed butter and also ghee. And so this is probably why the vegetarians in South India, they use ghee in a lot of their cooking. And it's because you hear these yogis now saying, hey, we knew all about the C15 thousands of years ago, and we've been calling it ghee. And it's true. If it's grass-fed animals, especially sheep or cows, you can get this essential fatty acid. It's more important than omega-3 fatty acid. It is a C15 carbon fatty acid. So there's natural ways to get it from butter and animals and concentrated form. And it's essentially for the people that are vegan, since they cut out dairy, they have zero C15 in their diet, completely zero.
Really?
Wow. Yes. There's no way to get it in your diet unless you eat certain kinds of fish, like candlefish, or you get it from dairy, and usually from milk or cheese, butter. Those are the sources of C15. And so it's essential. And so I can see a whole vegan group just taking C15 in tablet form. It's not derived from animals. It's derived from coconuts, and they add synthetically another carbon chain to the C14 in the coconut.
Wow. So you'd be able to remain a vegan even more.
It's vegan friendly.
Stay healthy and rejuvenate.
If one essential fatty acid, it would change their whole life, I imagine.
C15.
C15, yeah.
Wow. I guess it would change all of our lives in a way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll get into that as a whole nother topic, something that you've explored or continue to explore to a large extent and could be good for all of us. So I have a couple other things, though, for this show I want to get into. One is a few more moments from Michael Mercury, who left us with some wonderful words, and I want to share a little bit of that. Michael Mercury is an astrologer, quite an amazing astrologer out of Sacramento. Here's a few minutes of Michael's wisdom.
I've never said this before. I'm going to share this. I'm probably going to get into trouble for saying it.
Okay. Let's hope so.
I remember that, because it referred to your question about remembering that first moment thing. I think this is what changed my life. I remember my parents weren't getting along that summer. And so I was sleeping with my pop during that summer because they weren't talking or something. And so he would tell me stories at night. And I remember one night he said to me something like, who's the greatest guy in the world? And I said, you are, Pop. He says, well, what about God? And I said, nah, you're better than God. And he looked at me, he said, well, why is that? I said, because you made me. You and Mom made me. God, he didn't make me. You guys made me. And I remember the look on his face. And it was not until about a couple of days after that, I was walking by myself. I'm talking like 3.5, 4 years old, something like that. And I thought to myself, hey, God. And I started talking to God. My father mentioned this word God, so hey, God, because I heard it because my mom was taking Catholic school and I didn't believe in any of that stuff anyway. But so I said, okay, I'll talk to you. I said, well, let me be a spy for you. I want to work for you. I want to be a spy for God. That's what I'm going to do. So I've decided, since that's going to be, my pop is a spy, so I'll be a spy for you. That's my job. And I think right then and there is when I decided what I was going to be. And little did I know, astrology would be the matrix, the language that I divine with to understand the nature of nature, which I think is what Spinoza would point out is nature, which is God.
Spy for God. Huh?
Absolutely. Somebody's got to do it.
Spy for God with divination.
All right. Well, that brings us to the question: what is the highest purpose of intelligence?
It's creating your own job.
which might be a good idea, considering the AIs are taking over all the regular jobs.
Well, I'm just telling you, I went right for the source. Why go to college when you go to the source?
Well, what does that say about education in the future?
Well, hopefully it's going to change.
To what?
To what it used
Direct
to be.
access?
No, Socrates, Plato, learning Latin, Greek, the basics, getting back to the fundamentals of mathematics. And that's what we should be teaching kids, is art and science. Those should be the foundations of all education. And in a neutral environment where kids can flourish and grow and love. And ultimately, it's about love and forgiveness. And as I mentioned to somebody the other day, love and forgiveness, Bama Ramdas and I used to talk about this. He was one of my yoga teachers. And he said, without love, you can't have love without forgiveness as the fundamental essence of what love represents, which means that if you live in a state of forgiveness, then you don't judge anybody. And that's really what life is about. You want to be enlightened, stop judging people. And then it becomes apparent what being awake is about.
Yeah, they used to say blame is the name of the no-win game. So.
I would know how to spell that. I was never good at spelling.
Nice little nugget from our talk with Michael Mercury.
Yeah, I like Michael Mercury.
You remember him?
Yes, great talks. And he gave me a new appreciation for astrology. As a scientist and you come from astronomy, you kind of...
How could astrology be real? There's so many more stars than what they're talking about.
Yeah.
What convinced you that there was something to astrology as coming from science?
Well, there are, over the years, I have met some astrologers, and they could predict things and they could see things that they were intuiting from their astrology that could see the future. They had an intuition about things. And there's different ways to interpret what the stars are doing, but they're channeling something that I think they are channeling something into the future. Regular astronomy doesn't have that ability.
And the human equation, they're really tuned into the psychology of people. I've often thought that astrology is really a great way of categorizing different kinds of personalities, like the Enneagram as another system that does that.
The famous astronomers of all time, they were all dabbling with astrology. They would pay their way in the courts of different kings and queens and courts. They were paid for doing their astrology or predicting the future of the people that they were working for.
Yeah.
To pay for their astronomical observations.
That was taken more seriously than astronomy for a long time.
Yes. I think there's Ayurvedic astrology, which is South Indian astrology. I've had some people do some readings on me. They were very profound. And they also believe in planets back then that didn't exist before Pluto and Neptune, that you didn't see with your eye, but they knew they existed out there.
Right. You listen to him, you can see it's more of his spiritual practice as much as it is a profession.
Right.
So that's interesting in that context. So I'm looking at how, and I see this with fortune tellers too, is that there's a psychological dynamic that seems to come out of the relationship between the prognosticator and their tool, where the cards start to speak to the person. They speak to them. The astrology reading starts speaking to him about who it is that you're reading about. It almost transcends the words themselves or the cards into something else, some kind of rapport or connection with the person they're attuning to. He just did a personal reading for me. I just got it in the mail just a few hours ago. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, can't wait to check that out.
Yeah. See what that's all about. Huh. But before that, I want to play also a couple minutes from Connie and Andrew when they visited us just this last
Sure, this little grab bag of who we've been hanging out with
little
lately.
Poignant moments, and it kind of relates to what we were just talking about with Michael Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
Here, this is
Andrew Bailey and Connie Baxter Marlow.
That's it. Okay, here we go.
Totally a question of trust. For the religious people, the question is, do you trust God? If you don't trust God, it's a big problem. If you do trust God, you know that it's just what it is.
Trust God? You trust Allah? Which God do you trust?
Yeah. But I'm just saying one of the things we probably understand is the religious, so if you're in the Middle East and there are those who trust Yahweh, those who trust Jesus and so on.
There's a lot of people claiming that God, they're doing it as God or with God or for God, and there's a lot of contradictions in the various people making those claims.
I kind of where's the commonality between all these peoples?
How do you find the common ground?
Would you say they're all human? For starters, same species?
Well, it's my understanding it's the consciousness of unconditional love coming to understand itself. So it's very important that all these different angles on things and all these different experiences happen for this evolution of God, of the whole universe. We are the universe. And this human experience, from my perspective, all of creation is awaiting the opening of the human heart, that we have had a job to do, and that is to transmute the energies of fear and separation and scarcity. We've given these 3D suits and this whole lower vibration that made us think we were separate from each other, that there was scarcity. It's all been a process for all of creation. There's something that we're contributing through this evolution of consciousness that is saying, hey, war is not okay, and none of this is okay.
It loses value when you're not fighting for any good reason, and there doesn't seem to be any good reason.
Is a good reason.
Yeah. Well, the good reasons for war in the past were a scarcity of resources, a scarcity of women very often, territory, and if those issues go away, then we have no reason to fight anymore.
Right, exactly. That's what I say. In the higher frequency, we get that we're one. So it's very obvious.
We get that it's an abundant universe.
And it's so abundant. It's more abundance than we can fathom because we're manifesting from our eyes and from our minds. And so there's no one to fight with. There's nothing to fight over. So peace on earth is a given.
And that's a level of consciousness.
It's to do with levels of consciousness.
Well, you're certainly feeling rather inclined towards the spiritual questions today.
It's the cards. That's what they threw at me today for some reason.
I'm sure a lot of people, I'm sure more people than in the recent past are looking long and hard at their spiritual values and spiritual belief.
I think it's really interesting topic right now, considering the elections coming up and that the legacy media is predicting that we're going to not have a peaceful time, that we're going to have some conflict going on.
Well, it's almost like they want that to happen. There's a lot of people seeding it because they have some kind of axe to grind and they want to manipulate the gears of power by getting a lot of crazy, violent people to create chaos.
Exactly, yeah.
Did you talk about the computers that can't normally see the optical illusions? That was a very interesting article
that's a nice,
that you pulled
geeky
up.
Topic. Yes, I love it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was fascinating because apparently most artificial intelligence systems can't see optical illusions like we do, like the Necker cube.
Well, there's a lot of people who can't see
Rubens
optical
vase.
illusions either, right? The literalist.
We see one interpretation first, then the other, and it's an interesting thing. How is it that computer vision has not been able to simulate the neurological, psychological aspects of human vision? And it struggles to mimic our ability to our naturally evolved pattern recognition capacities.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, they found an AI that can see optical illusions. And that seems to be a key for us humans, is that we see optical illusions.
Well, they trained it to see optical illusions.
Yeah, they had to train it
They
specifically.
basically gave it slight variations of the optical stimulus that allowed the machine to develop a complex pattern recognition and then alternate between which one it would accept as the one that it was seeing. We're training these machines to associate images with some kind of word or some kind of code that unifies it with other images. So this is an AI system that they used quantum tunneling and a deep neural network, which means that they had a lot of varied data that they put into it and combined it in new ways that had a certain uncertainty to it.
But quantum tunneling, is that something that the human brain is doing as well?
Yeah,
yeah?
It is. You have these things called microtubules.
Microtubules, yes. Supposedly consciousness is connected to them directly.
Yeah. I took a class in Berkeley with Sasha. It was called Quantum Consciousness. And they dove into this idea. And it came out of Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff. And they were trying to discover what is consciousness. And it turns out that just recently, about a month ago, they verified that there are these microtubules in the neurons. And down these tubules, just imagine they kind of look like those carbon tubes that are very stiff. And anyway, what's happening is there is ultraviolet light traveling down the tubes. And when you get the collapse of the wave function, that actually causes consciousness. And Hameroff, he was actually an anesthesiologist, and he's trying to figure out, well, why, when you introduce these noble gases, that people go unconscious. And from that, Roger Penrose, they got together and they said, well, it must have to do with this quantum state of this ultraviolet light going down the tubes and when it collapses.
Well, yes, a must do, but we have no time to talk about it now. But thank you, Bobby, for bringing that up. Consciousness and quantum tunneling. Talk to you next week. Everyone, have a great week. Enjoy this beautiful weather.